I'm not at home, as you can see today, from stranger surroundings. I'm actually in Toronto at the A11Y PO conference, thanks to our previous guest, Billy and Oscar. But today, we're very pleased to welcome Adrian Bolonio, who is the lead for development at willhaben. So welcome, Adrian. It's great to have you with us. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing at willhaben and how you came to be working in the field around accessibility?
Well, thank you for having me to begin with. Well, I'm the team lead of the web team of willhaben, and I'm a front-end engineer. So what we do here is to develop the website and maintain it and update it. So we are renewing now with a new fresh look and a new technology. So that's why for us it's very important to put accessibility from the very beginning and to include it as a part of the development process and not as a post process. That unfortunately sometimes we have this mistake to do it an after process and not during development.
Sorry, just unmuting there. So yeah, we've all been in that place where you retrofit accessibility, and as the developers, you must have felt that pain. So it's good to see you putting this into your life cycle at the right point now. So tell us a bit about willhaben. You're based in Austria, right? And so this is a transactional website. You're doing selling products and services, is that right? Or similar to?
We are a marketplace. So what we provide is the platform, peer-to-peer, and sometimes some kind of shops as well, and car dealers and dealers to advise, or not advise, but put the advertisement of their products in the platform. We have 4 verticals, which is real estate, cars and motorbikes, jobs, and marketplace, so the generic one. So if you want to sell, for example, a chair or your sofa, you could potentially do it in our platform. So since we have our products are others people's product, we take care about the images that they put, the description of the images. So that's how accessibility came into the game of development the platform. I don't have the numbers in Austria, but around last year, more than 1 billion people is impaired. But not last year, but we are more than 7.8 or 7.6 billion people in the world, and more than 1 billion people are visually impaired. And in our case, we take care only visually impaired because we are not a hardware company. We cannot work with hardware, so special keyboards and everything. So for us, it's very important that we cover the whole audience of Austria and not only the audience that can see. So what we want is to arrive to every possible person that wants to use our website.
Absolutely, it's a big market, and you don't want to lose 20% of your marketplace by just making stuff inaccessible. Curious to know how you're handling the sort of accessibility of other people's data. You said that you were fixing image descriptions and stuff like that. Are you, as a team, doing this, or is this something that you are making available for your users that are posting adverts to be able to do correctly? How are you implementing this? Because if you're doing it yourselves, that's a lot of work.
No. I mean, we have more than 5-6 million ads in our platform, so that will be as I call donkey work. But we give the opportunity for every possible vertical that we have. So it doesn't matter if it is a sofa or if it is a apartment or if it is a car, to provide a description of every single image, and we will attach this as maybe some people can guess in the alt image of and the alt prop of the image. So if we don't have the description, because the user is totally optional, of course, so the user don't provide any description, what we do is to give a bit more context of the image. So we said image 1 out of 15, so at least you have a context of how many pictures you have, and the title of the ad, because it would be a not clever solution to put 12 images with the same alt description. So we try to give a bit more context when we do this. We've been reading and exploring some in artificial intelligence libraries and engines to identify normally objects or car parts. So if you know if you're in the front or in the back, or if it's a sofa or chair or clothing, we are not confident enough that these can cover the 100% of the cases, so we prefer to stick with the optional field for the user.
Antonio, you must be muted.
Yeah, Antonio, you're muted.
Okay.
We can't hear Antonio. So Debra, do you want to cut in?
Well, I was curious. Is it because I know it is possible, and you might have your users would not like it. But have you ever thought about making it mandatory so they do have to add alt text? I understand it would be difficult to police them. Can you hear me?
Yeah, definitely.
I just want to make sure. But
I'll just
I was just curious if you still would be, like you said, sometimes you have image 1 of 15. So if you're alt tagging it image 1, image 2, it's not meaningful. But I'm just curious if y'all have considered making it mandatory and that the person has to add the alt tags.
We did think about it. The conclusion that we end up about making it mandatory, a bit of research and a bit of brainstorming, was that it could be easier. It could be easy for the user to just copy and paste the same description for every image. What is not exactly what we want. But yeah, you cannot, obviously, I mean, if you leave it the possibility to the side of the user, then the user has the power of that. So yeah, it's a balance of giving the perfect description of the image by the user, or giving at least some context of the image. I know it's not the description of what the image reflects, but I think it's the best thing that we could possibly do without any information.
Right. And as you're saying, maybe artificial intelligence can help in the future, because
absolutely
we know that it's being used that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's still an early phase of any artificial intelligence, not only in image processing, but in super engines and super computers. But it's definitely a possibility that we should explore in the future.
Yeah, I've heard people talking about using narrow artificial intelligence to help with adding alt tags and, coming up with a library of objects and stuff that we can use. So I know there's multiple projects going around the world. I've heard multiple ones recently, so there's hope. Antonio, I know you're having problems with your mic. Do you want to go again?
So how does your system flags those images who don't have a description?
We at the beginning we had a library which visually, again, not for visually impaired people, but visually, when we didn't have a description, you didn't have the written description. Now We were again evaluating, because we did a lot of A/B testing, if to definitely hide the image for the user with ARIA hidden, for example, if it's not relevant, or we could not provide any relevance for the user. So if we potentially have an ad that has images and no image has any description, then I agree with you, Debra, that image 1 out of 15 makes absolutely no sense. There's 15 images, but I don't know what the images are I don't know what the images are reflecting. So it could be a car, but I don't know if you put 15 images of the front or 15 from the side. So we could possibly, and is a valid alternative to hide them if they are only how to say, decorative. In this case, only in this case.
Antonio, did you want to follow up?
No.
Okay. Well, and Neil, I don't know if you wanted to make a comment.
Well, I think it's great that you're putting stuff in the workflow, because the earlier in the workflow it is, the more likely people are to do this stuff. So that's great. Are users also pasting videos?
No,
So
we don't.
You don't
we
have
don't have
videos?
videos. No, we don't have videos.
Yeah. Okay. So because I know that that's something that I sell some stuff online, and we do quite a bit of videos, and obviously you can add captions. I noticed that with LinkedIn now you can add captions, and they've also started doing automated image description. So I think, like you were saying, there's potential to use some of this technology that's coming along to remove some of the burden on the individual content creators. But at the same time, I know there was a talk yesterday at the conference that I'm at today where they're saying just quite how long away it's got to go to really convey accurate information. The quality of the information that you're getting from automated descriptions is significantly less than a well-crafted human one at this stage. I think when we're looking at what Microsoft are doing, for example, at least they are, if you're using the automated descriptions in something like PowerPoint, they are saying, what the percentage likelihood of accuracy is, predicted with a reasonable confidence or less confidence that it might be this or it might be that. And I think that at least gives you some kind of idea about the sort of the level of accuracy. That said, 5 years ago, this wasn't possible at all. So things are moving really, really quickly. Where do you see the next areas of improvement of accessibility in your platform specifically, and in online commerce more generally?
For us, and any other platform that I've been researching, what I found very difficult to do, and I'm now more into the technical part, is drop downs. And as well payment. So we are talking about very sensible data, which is credit cards, SEPA transfers, or anything like that. So we need to these forms that allows you to introduce your payment data that has very complicated controls, like drop downs to select I don't know, whatever payment methods and everything. I found it very tricky to tag, to identify if I want to be shown, if I want to be read. I'm talking again people with screen readers. And the context. For me, what you were saying about like the accuracy of the information and the context of the forms, how to clearly state where you are the page that you are. So a quick example, if you have an input with the label name means nothing. You need to give it a bit of a context. So that's what I find very difficult, and for us is something that we are investing time on defining this context, these relationships between forms and where you are, if you're in the login, if you're registration, if you're in the payment form, if you are introducing the data of an advertisement, and in the case of a car, it has like 50 fields or like 200 fields. So you need to give a bit of more context. Yeah, I don't know where the future can go for people who's using screen readers. Again, maybe yeah, giving more context. I would say that for now, or at least this is what we're focusing on.
So I do think it, sorry, I know, well, everybody will go on mute, but as we're in our noisy environments, Neil, but he's at it's going to be an amazing accessibility conference in Toronto, so I'm glad he's there representing everybody.
Yes.
But I was curious what your community, how is your community responding to making this portal and platform accessible to all? Are y'all advertising it? Are you telling people that you're making these efforts? Because we often see these efforts not being made in platforms like yours. So I was just curious how you're letting your audience know and talking about what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Let me just add something on the top of Debra, and tell us about the demographics of the people on the platform that would relate with Debra's question as well.
Good. So answering first, Debra, we are in the process of developing the new platform. So what we are moving is from a legacy code to a completely new platform. That's why it's easy and allow us to start from the very beginning with this. And it's not a fixing process, but it's a development and creation process, which is the beauty of creating something new. So what we're doing, or what what we're aiming is, there's a certification in Austria by the accessibility state. So I don't know how to say, institution, let's say in Austria, where we aim to get, not yet there, obviously, because we are in the middle, but what we want is to get this badge certificate of being accessible. The other thing that we're doing, and especially me, is I'm talking in a lot of conferences now. As I said, I was in Colombia this last week, in the JSConf Colombia, talking about how to test web accessibility. I did a previous talk called "How Does Your Website Sound Like?", which was about developing web accessibility. Now I'm talking about testing web accessibility. So what we're doing is to show how we test, what are the tools that we use while we develop, how to test the DOM structure of your HTML, and how we test manually. These two were automate testing. We need to remember that only 20 to 50% of the issues can be captured automatically or automated, but it's no magic. You need to include this in a full testing process with manual testing as well. So what we're doing is to show the community, not only local in Vienna. I'm going in December to Russia as well to talk about this, to show what are the tools that we use. That the good thing of those tools are, one is open source, free, and they're not difficult to use. So it's the same as HTML. When we develop HTML, it's just out there for you. It's not difficult to use. So we want to give the community the opportunity to know how we work, not only to show that we did it, but to show that they can do it as well. And again, not only in Austria, which compared to the world is a very small country, but to the whole community out there, Twitter, blog post, all these things. Demographics of the use of willhaben. I don't know if I can tell you about it. Like I'm not 100% sure if I am in the position to say. But I don't know if I have the knowledge with me. No, I cannot tell you how many people or how many, even how many gender or anything like that. The only thing that I'm now starting to try, we have a UX team with UX researcher. What I'm trying to do with him, and I'm not 100% sure if I'm gonna get it, but we are trying to contact blind people associations in Austria to try to get them to use our product and give us early feedback about it, the same as we do with any feature that we create. The only difference is that accessibility is not a feature. So it's not an option, it's not a choice. People don't have the choice. So that's why we do this for them. So we want to get people to try our product with early feedback. Maybe I can provide a bit later with demographics, but I'm sorry I cannot give it to you just now.
And that's okay. But why did y'all decide to make the platform accessible? Of course, we should all be making things accessible. I mean, why would you leave out large numbers of people? And yet we still see often it's an afterthought and it is not being included at the beginning stages like it appears to be with the work that you're doing. So I'm just curious why I'm always curious why people start doing it.
Yeah, in my case, I became the project lead of this project. So I've been focusing in accessibility for the last 3 years. I'm getting more and more. So once I had the opportunity to add a new fresh product, that was like the gate open for me. Like, no, that's like, for example, it's the same as any code guideline. For us, we don't accept any pull request that doesn't have any unit test. So for me, I don't accept any pull request that does violate at least severe and big issues. So okay, I can live with warnings and moderate at some point. So starting with our corporate image, our logo is blue and white. So yeah, that's definitely not complaining with the AA or AAA. And we are not going to change our corporate image. That's something that I know. But I would never accept any link with a role button, or I would never accept any link with any href. I deleted 2 role buttons today in a request because that's not the way that we do. And the good thing for me is I see how my team is learning about this. Is a learning path that every developer out there should learn. So, and there is millions of resources in the internet, Twitter. I mean, I have the luck that in Vienna there is a huge accessibility expert, Manuel Matusovic. Maybe you know him. He's been very famous because he wrote a couple of articles gone viral, like how to make the worst accessible website 100% in Lighthouse and all links like this. And we are going to found the new accessibility club Vienna, which we don't have a meetup in Vienna yet, and it's going to happen soonish. But again, yeah, there's resources out there that every developer should look at it. So that's how this was born in the company.
So what work are you doing when you are onboarding new people, when you are getting a new developer to work in your team? What type of work are you doing with them to make sure that is somehow it doesn't get the code out of track?
Good. We have some documentation written with our code guidelines, not only how we want to structure our code or how do we want to manage forms, but we have as well accessibility guidelines. So we have the tools that we want to use to test. To give you a bit more, I mean, we use linters for ES, so we use the accessibility linter. So you need to install it in your code editor. We use React, so we use React Axe from Deque University to see all the violations in the console, or we use Jest to write our own unit test. So that's things that we, from the very beginning, every developer that joins the team needs to know and needs to use, as well as Chrome extensions that needs to install to manually test. The other thing is a forever path. I'm lucky that I live in a world in an industry. I'm a developer, and I'm sure that I will never ever stop learning. So there's something that we will all learn day by day, reviewing pull requests from other colleagues, and yeah, I mean, there's not everything can be learned in the onboarding phase. It's something that you need to have a mentor inside the team that goes for you.
Excellent. I mean, I love your passion. One of the things that we just heard about today, and I think is really important, is actually the whole sort of usability of your website. Obviously, you talked briefly about creating accessible sites that are totally unusable. So, and we just had a great talk about task-based testing. So, so this is actually looking at actually sort of taking people through various different tasks on your website. You know, how am I going to find, you know, the car park that I require, and how am I going to get from finding that car park to, you know, putting it in the shopping basket and making the payment. So it's not, you know, testing one page at a time, but testing the whole flow to see how it works. Is that something that you've got teams doing right now?
Yeah, as I said, do you mind to mute your? Oh, good. That's what I said is we have a UX team which is doing this research. For me, one key from our team or from our teams is that our UX team is sitting with us, so the communication flows very, very good. Actually, I'm sitting in front of my UX lead, and what we do is to not accept what the UX designer tells you, but to work together. So it doesn't really have to come from the UX team to the developers, but sometimes the other way around. So not everyone, not every time needs a user. So we don't need a user to test. We are the best people to test because we know the product, as well as we are the bad people to test because we know the product. But what we do is to test all flows. And you said a sentence that I normally start with a presentation with about when I explain accessibility, is that you are in an e-commerce shop and then you call the support and you say, I want to see my latest purchases, or I want to change my email, and they tell you, you need to click in the top right corner, or you need to click in the icon that looks like an engine. Look, for blind people, there's no engine. There's no icon that looks like an engine. There's no top right. So we need to find out the flows that determines that a user can find what they're looking, but it doesn't matter what kind of user. So it doesn't matter if you're visually impaired, if you're using a keyboard, if you're using a mouse, if you're using a tablet, or if you're using a phone. Actually, it doesn't matter if you're using a PSP or a console, a PlayStation. You should be able to find the whole flow. It needs to be easy enough. And not only easy enough, but consistent and coherent with the context of your content, to be a bit redundant. So what we're doing is a lot of research, a lot of A/B testing, inviting a lot of users to test our product and get this early feedback and treat it as gold for us, because this is what is going to determine the final product. I don't know if that answers your question.
So I imagine that just described will be very useful to share with the community and with the meetup and that you are planning to put together. Can you tell us more about that meetup and how you are planning to organize yourself within Vienna?
Absolutely, yeah. So we're gonna found the Accessibility Club Vienna together with the Accessibility Club. So Accessibility Club was born in Germany by Joshi, and we're very happy with that for that. And the good thing is, out of this Accessibility Club, which, by the way, the Accessibility Club Summit is now in November in Berlin, so everyone feel free to go because it's going to be an amazing event. Out of this Accessibility Club Turku in Finland was born. So I contact Manuel and I proposed the idea to fund this meetup because we didn't have any accessibility club. I was working together with the UX Vienna meetup, but it was not only my vision of accessibility was not only for UX design or development. Maybe someone who designed chairs wants to join us. So it's not about web accessibility, but accessibility. So we contact Accessibility Club. They said that we could join them as a member of the family. We can use the infrastructure, and that's how it's going to be born. Slowly, we need to find places, venues, that they are accessible. We want to get a sponsor to caption the videos. A lot of things, like organizing events are difficult, and unfortunately organizing accessible events are even more difficult.
Just a few comments. The accessibility accessibility club. Sorry, you mentioned a person's name that's doing it. So we want to make sure that we tag them. So you'll have to give me that. But it is a good idea, and I know that there's other groups, and I'm going to let Neil talk about that. But I love the passion that you have for accessibility. I see when you talk about it, you get, because we're all a bunch of accessibility geeks, right? So
Yes.
The passion you show for it, I can't help, but it touches my heart. So thank you for that passion. And it's also interesting to me because Zero Project is in Vienna, and we see some very interesting innovations coming out of Austria. Like you said, it's a small country, and yet you're doing some really, really cool things. So I just wanted to really applaud the efforts that you're making and note that your passion is the passion that you see with us as well, because why do you not want everybody to be included? And so I just wanted to give you kudos for that. And I know that Neil has a comment to make, but I just wanted to thank you for the passion that obviously is coming out. And I like how you're being creative about it and wanting to make sure that others join the conversation. And another point, I love that it's not just a digital conversation, that it is actually everything, because built barriers really, really stop our community, just like the digital divide and the digital inclusion is so critical. So I don't often see those two coming together in the same conversation, and I think it's critical that we do it more in the future. So, and I don't know if you wanted to comment on that, and then I'm going to go on mute and turn it back over to Neil after you comment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, I'm very focused in web accessibility because this is what I do. But I have a very good friend of mine who is a product designer, and he loves chairs. So we were talking about accessibility. How can we even make accessibility a chair accessible, right? Not only for people who's in wheelchair, because obviously that you need to adapt it to these needs, but not only chair. I mean, a chair, you use it to sit down in a table. Okay, let's make the chair that adapts to the table. Like these kind of thoughts, the kind of brainstorm that could possibly fire up in this conversation. As well, we want to give the opportunity to other industries to get into meetups. It looked like when we go to meetup.com, in this case, the company that they are organizing, or they are giving the platform to organize this one, we usually see that the majority of meetups are digital, are for developers, are for designers, are for infrastructure engineers. Let's give the opportunity to other industries as well to, why not, meet up, right? That's the word, meet up and talk about their needs, their passion, their passion as well.
That's fantastic. And we know that there's meetups in London, and that our supporters, Barclays Access, have been instrumental in making sure that they continue to do good work. I'd like to thank both Barclays Access and MyClearText and our friends at MyClearLink for continuing to support us. And thank you very much, Adrian. It's been a great pleasure talking with you today. I'm sorry about the background noise.
No problem. No problem. I enjoy the Accessibility Toronto conference because I'm so jealous about it. But
me too. Me too. I'm totally jealous. Why? Why? I want to be in Toronto.
Thank you all for organizing the chats. I've been following you since a long time, but mostly for giving awareness of this world that unfortunately we've seen that accessibility is more and more important, and not only important. We've seen now new European laws, in our case here in Europe, new European laws. I'm from Spain, so I've seen new laws in Spain that I'm very happy about. So you can now claim about websites that they are not accessible. But yeah, thank you for the effort you put on it. I just want to, if you allow me, I just want to finish with a sentence that I always finish in my talks, and I really liked it when I saw it, and I always put it in my slide. And you said, it's not just about disabled users being able to access your website, it's about everyone being able to access your website, because you never know when you forget your glasses at home, or when you don't have your mouse with you, or your screen is broken and you need to buy a flight. And if you need the urgent to buy a flight. So we have smart enough operating systems like macOS, Windows, Linux, who has built-in screen readers for you. So let's use the tools that the web community, W3C, web standards provide us to develop to everyone, not disabled people, everyone.
Very good, very good. And I can totally attest to that, because I spent 2 days in Spain squinting at my computer because I left my glasses at home when I left at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to a conference. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you.